Hey guys, Dr. Mike Dusa, MTFU Longevity Over 50. How are you? With Marc Plano here today, my good friend in one of the areas, Greater New Haven and Connecticut, in the Northeast, top trainers. He's a clinical guy. I like him. He helps me understand things and doesn't just have me do things, he helps me understand why. We're talking about the knee today. Just a couple of things. I'm 54, as you've heard me talk about all the time, and I've had some injuries in the past. Way back in 1990, I injured this knee pretty badly, and what happened was I cracked the medial condyle of my femur and severed the patella tendon. I had to have surgery. That was pretty bad, but I developed something called reflex sympathetic dystrophy. It's otherwise known as compartment syndrome. Basically, it's a pain-mediated disorder where the leg swells and it's very, very painful. I had to inject morphine. I had it for 3.5 years. I was on crutches, so on and so forth. Lost a lot of muscle in my leg. I have a lot of scar tissue in my knee. One of the problems is right now I had a surgery called a lumbar sympathectomy where they cut you right here, they get into the low back, they take the lumbar splanchnic nerves out. That's to stop the swelling from the nerve condition. It's all good and fine. Even though that didn't work, that left me with some problems, and one of them is I don't have good proprioception in this leg. Proprioception is this: when you're standing here like this, you can tell where both legs are without looking at them. It's kind of like falling asleep on your arm and it goes numb. You can still move it, but you can't feel it. That's how my leg feels. So when I walk, I have to kind of swing it out a little bit. You may not notice, I'm kind of exaggerating it. That way I can see my peripheral vision and I can tell where my leg is. Now, why is that a problem? Well, my biomechanics are kind of screwed up all over the place because of this. And it largely ends up affecting my knee, along with the scar tissue, and along with the tracking problem that Marc's going to get into in a second. Squatting, for me, remember, doing an exercise, any exercise, I think one of the hallmarks of it being a successful exercise for you is that you feel the stimulation in the target muscle. When I do squats, and I try my level best to do them correctly, I don't feel it in the target, okay? I think I've got to get past too many biomechanical insufficiencies. Lunges or walking lunges, I don't feel them in the target. Leg extensions, we'll talk about that. It's different reasoning as far as why I don't do those. But my leg development is not terrible, okay? I don't have big legs. They're pretty defined, but I have difficulty building muscle around the knee because of some of these same reasons. So if you have any type of knee problems, maybe we'll touch upon some of these tenets that may apply to you today. But Marc, you're going to come in and elucidate a little for me.
Sure. So one of the things that I want to look at, that highly influenced knee, and if someone has knee pain, a lot of times pain in the anterior part of the knee or the medial part of the knee are heavily influenced by the mechanics of the foot and the hip. So this guy is just kind of the dumb guy in the middle. So what we're going to do is kind of do a self-assessment, and for people at home, you can kind of get yourself in front of a mirror, and the first thing I want you to do is just kind of see what your feet do. All right? Most people have a pronated foot, and what that means is that foot kind of dives in. Okay? So if we just have, and again, I haven't looked at Mike's squat at all, and I haven't worked with Mike at all, but I'm just going to tell Dr. Dusa just to squat, and I want to look and see what his foot is doing, because like I said before, the foot is going to heavily influence where this knee goes. So without any cueing at all, let's just have him squat, and what I want you to do, Donna, is cue into his to see what his feet are doing. Go ahead. So right off the bat, go ahead, you can see that this arch is massively collapsing here, okay? Come on up. What that's going to do is cause tracking issues. So what happens, and relax for a second, so what happens when this foot dives in, or this foot collapses, it creates a massive torque at this knee. So if we just collapse this arch for a second, what happens when he was squatting, go ahead down into a little bit of a squat here, this knee was caving in, which creates an internal rotation at this joint. Okay, relax for a sec. As we go through our excursion with collapsed feet, again, internal rotation of that lower bone. There's an internal rotation at the femur, okay? That doesn't stop there. That hip also kind of gets torsioned and tweaked. And people can experience discomfort all the way in their cervical spine from what their foot is doing. So one of the first things, and again, if we have a foot that's kind of caving in or that's pronating massively, all right, there's a couple things that we need to do. We need to look at, so first we're going to do is try to cue him correctly. All right, so let's look at proper cueing first. So what I want you to do is bring your feet out, bring your legs out a little bit wider. All right, let's see how this feels. And what I want Mike to do is, I want to, this is something called a tripod foot. What I want him to do is keep the weight on 3 points here. So the first metatarsal, fifth digit, so first and fifth, and his heel, okay? What that's going to do is kind of clean up his foot a little bit so it's not diving in as much. Now, as he goes through his squat, I want him to maintain all of his weight on those 3 points. Now, as you squat also, Mike, before we even go there, scrunch this big toe into the floor a little bit. Not as much, okay? Just a little bit, okay? A little less. And you can see that his arch came right up there. So that's a muscle called your post-tib. Most people have a long, stretched out, weak, inhibited post-tibialis. And that muscle is responsible for creating that arch and creating the integrity of that arch. What happens with this collapsed foot is it robs you of power. So can you imagine doing a squat with a bar and my feet are collapsing? Again, with this massive torque on that knee. If you are doing, if you're a strength athlete or a power athlete and you're doing hang cleans or power cleans and your knee is excessively diving in, man, you're going to start stressing all the soft tissue structures of that knee in a very big way. And that might occur over a period of time. So everything starts with stability of this foot. If that foot's not stable, for one, you can't get power into the floor. You can't transfer power through your system. So first thing is his foot looks perfect right now. And as he squats, let's go even a little wider with your squat. Perfect. Now, as you squat, I want you to maintain those 3 points of contact. And I want you to aim for your fourth or fifth digit here. I want your knees to align with your fourth or fifth
really,
digit.
because ordinarily I'd go straight.
Let's try. Let's just see how it feels. And again, I haven't worked with Mike, but I want to see. So right there, you can see how his foot was not collapsing in nearly as much. And again, he's probably squatted the same way a million times. That's actually money right there. That's perfect. Do that about 5 or 6 times. Does that feel a little better?
It does.
Yeah, so that cleaned him up massively. So now he's got some stability in the foot. One more time. And relax. So this whole cueing, I think that the fitness industry has kind of missed the mark with this cue where, you heard this cue before where split the floor apart with your feet. That's kind of wonky because what happens, that really can mean hip abduction. And what that does, when people try to split the floor apart with their feet, they kind of end up on their lateral part of their foot. And then that also causes tracking issues. So what you want to do, especially, we need power in the bottom of a squat, right? We need a lot of stability in the bottom part of the squat because that's where the load is the hardest. So if you could stand with your feet just like this, Mike, and just think, instead of spreading the floor apart with your feet, the cue that I'm going to give Mike as he goes through his excursion is just a rotation. Okay, and again, my feet are not going to move, but I'm just kind of rotating my feet into the floor. And what that does, not as much, you'll feel your glutes kind of fire when you kind of put this rotational element into the floor right there. Hold there for a sec. That's how you turn on the glutes. Yep. Now when he goes down through his excursion, go a little wider with your feet. There you go. And let this track over the fourth and fifth toe. That's actually a pretty good looking squat. How does that feel?
It feels very good. I feel it here, which I ordinarily don't.
Yep. So if you're a person who has, if you have collapsed arches, you're probably going to want to do one of two things. You're going to want to try and do some of the things that we just spoke about, but some people are still going to be collapsing because they're just really weak there. So some people who are excessive pronators are going to need potentially an orthotic, although I always work on trying to restore proper foot mechanics before I recommend an orthotic, or maybe we use it for a short term or get people on the right footwear. But there's muscles in your feet that get very weak because people use shoes that have too much cushion and things that just kind of lock up the foot. So it's always...
Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt, but is there something to be said about the old school days of Arnold where the old goals squatting with bare feet versus now
Yeah,
shoes?
absolutely. And again, I don't think that so much you do that right off the bat and do all their work barefoot, but I do think that you need to feel the floor. You have things that are called mechanoreceptors in the bottom of your feet that send signals to your brain. So we have all this footwear that has all this cushion, and if you've seen toe boxes lately in shoes, they're real small. So your feet get really scrunched up.
That's true. Oh, yeah.
And there's this sensory issue where we just can't really connect with the floor, which is super important. So as it relates to the knee tracking correctly, obviously we don't want to be on the lateral aspect of our feet. That's going to cause complications. You don't want to be collapsed. You just want to find that kind of tripod foot where you have some stability. Where there's stability, there's power. If you need to work on, and so that post-tib that I was talking about, that muscle runs from kind of this lower bone here, and it drops down.
You might have difficulty finding my calf. So.
Yeah. So that muscle, that post-tib, attaches here, and what it does is it acts as a glove. So it pulls this arch up that gets elongated and stretched out. So an excellent post-tib exercise that we can just talk about for a second. I'm going to grab a ball here. Mike, come on over.
We'll do this, and then we're going to come back with leg extensions. Okay.
I'm going to have him grab a ball here, put it in the lower part of right where the mid bone is. Come on in. I'm going to have him squeeze this ball together. All right? And as he squeezes that and creates that external rotation, you should feel that in his hips, so we get his hips firing.
I do.
Now, what I want him to do is squeeze, while he's squeezing the heck out of that ball, you're going to integrate all your toes into the floor, and you're going to come up onto the toes, so come up and squeeze.
Like so?
Yep, you got it. And you got hold up there. Come right back down. Good. And what you're going to think about doing is elongating yourself as you come up. Keep the abs tight. Kind of squeeze your pelvic floor and drive up on your toes, squeezing back there. So that ball here is going to activate that muscle that's responsible for his arch. So by the right cueing patterns and just thinking about, feeling the floor and gripping the floor is going to create a completely different experience and relax. While you're squatting or while you're even lunging. Any questions so far?
No, but we're gonna. No, that's quite a bit. What I'll do is with the video, I'll write up a bunch of stuff.
Sure.
That corresponds, but we're gonna say bye here, but then we're gonna come right back with some leg extensions, which I think are very necessary to go over as far as a lot of people's questions that I get all the time. So we'll be right back, and thank you.